May 29th, 1913 was one of the most notorious dates in the entire history of music. That is the date on which Stravinsky's Rite of Spring was premiered at the Théâtre des Champs-Élysées in Paris by the Ballet Russe, the groundbreaking dance company that had been founded only a few years before by Serge Diaghilev, the great impresario. The number of people who claim to have been in the theater on that occasion is so immense that they must have all been sitting on each other's laps. But everybody claimed to have been there, and it was famous because of the riot that broke out at the premiere. It was famous because the piece was a total flop. Stravinsky's score was unlike anything that people had heard before either. It was filled with a violent sense of primitivism, which he summoned up because of the subject itself. It was supposed to be scenes of pagan Russia. It was drawn on ideas of what went on in springtime rites, springtime celebrations in central Russia in some time of antiquity among these distant tribes of that time. And so Stravinsky came up with a violent sort of language, very heavy on rhythm, which was always the poor stepchild of music. The ballet had only been going on for a few seconds, a few measures, when catcalls started coming from the audience and hissing and screaming. And not only protests, but also defenders got into the act. Claude Debussy, for example, started to argue with the people who were protesting against the piece, and everything escalated. Fisticuffs. It became a violent protest and a violent riot right there in the theater itself. It became traditional to say that it was Stravinsky's music that was the cause of this, but a number of people have questioned, I think quite legitimately, whether it was really the music that set off this riot, or whether people were every bit as much as perplexed by the choreography, which was the work of Václav Nijinsky. In fact, the choreography was absolutely novel. It wasn't ballet in the sense that people were accustomed to thinking of ballet. Instead, the moves were very energetic and very violent and very brusque and very stylized. So the very look of this piece was so radical that people were already primed to be protesting its modernity. Stravinsky's music, of course, was quite as modern as that choreography was, and so the two together really spelled doom for the evening. I think it was one of those evenings where people were really ready to let their emotions run raw, and whatever had happened, they were going to have a riot and have a good time doing it. The fact is that Stravinsky's piece survived just fine, and already in its second performance, the score was accepted as much more interesting and much more approachable by the audience. And of course, since that time, it's become one of the indelible classics of the orchestral literature, and indeed of the ongoing ballet production literature.